So I want to use this design where you have the symmetry and the grace of the whole refracted through the current paradigms of the cult, which is represented individually in the human ego, and that produces a data set to look at hospital care and medicine at each different stage. And my fractured radial head on my right elbow is giving me, the data set into this. So, there's certainly a whole story into how, I reached the point of fracturing my right elbow, as well as a scaphoid bone in the right palm. But let's look at treatment. So we have the dial 911, which I think is fine, as a starting point. What's not so intelligent is what comes next, because if you request an ambulance, they will send a fire truck. And this does two things. The first thing is it slows the ambulance arrival down, because they've got to coordinate with a fire truck. The second thing is that it blocks more traffic, makes more noise. In this case, the way they parked this giant fire truck on a narrow street was right. They parked the fire truck before the ambulance, and then they parked the fire truck next to another vehicle. So I have a fractured elbow, and every movement and twist is incredibly painful. Now, they park. There's a car here. They park the fire truck right here, and then they want me to walk through this little 2-foot opening, or 18-inch opening, whatever it is, to get back to the ambulance. Now, this is just one of hundreds of small details that, have nothing to do with the situation. So there are escalated voices by the fire truck men, who are probably not trained as much as the ambulance, when they arrive, talking with my landlord. So I have to deal with that emotional stress, in addition to, the whole shock, etc. So, so we have bunches of people we don't need. We have cars and vehicles in the way. We have a ton of wasted energy. And then we get into the next argument, which is I don't want to walk 100 yards in my condition down to the ambulance bed. They can't carry the ambulance bed up because the fire truck is blocking the way. The fire truck won't leave because it's protocol. And this is the first point where you can start to see insanity in any system. It's when energy is spent to create a problem that will not be deleted because of a protocol. And so I'm basically being told that a protocol is more important than my health. And the main point of the ambulance is to help me get up the first flight of steps, which are very steep and which are concrete and stuff, which I fell down with a washing machine. And there is no offer of help and no stretcher brought. Now, this reminds me of an even more absurd point where I had a back spasm. And, in our culture, we're often so isolated. I tried meeting my neighbors. They weren't really interested. And so I needed a back pain medication from the local Walgreens. And I called 911 to say, I can't get out of bed. Is there any way that I could have some back pain medication so that I could get out of bed? And they said, would you like us to send an ambulance? And I said, no. I would like you to send one person to walk down with, whatever would be, an ibuprofen, something, and hand it to me in my bed. And they said, we'll see what we can do. Well, what they could do was send a fire truck and an ambulance and bring a stretcher down an awkward flight of steps. Now, of course, they don't remove their boots because who are you, the customer? It's like, let's come down in fire clothes and fire boots to hand someone a pill. Now, they said, would you like morphine? I said, if you can inject it to me in my bed, I'm okay with that. But I don't want to be lifted onto a stretcher. I do not want to be taken to the hospital. I don't want 8 people in my bedroom. Could you please leave? And they're getting huffy about this. They're getting huffy at the idea that a client would be mad, that a taxpayer would be mad, that in our system it takes 8 men and 2 vehicles to deliver an ibuprofen or whatever, anything, over the counter, not over the counter, a little bit of pain medication. Now I'm listening to their radios blaring. Quite a debate has to go on in order. The client does not want to be removed to the hospital. Well, I had to have a 20-minute debate with the 911 operator. So it's very clear that there's zero listening going on. So at communication, we'd have to say 0, or maybe 10%. They got the house right. They understood my name. They understood the need. Everything else is off. Now, so that's, time number 1. This time I thought an ambulance and a stretcher would actually be useful. But this time, they didn't barge into my bedroom with a stretcher and 8 guys. One guy came down, started arguing with my landlord, which I had to listen to, wouldn't give me my shoe, which they were just about to ask me to walk. Wouldn't give me my shoe. I asked 3 times. My wife got me my shoe. Now, what we're dealing with is 10% thinking. Now, I'm grateful that I live in a culture where I can call 911 and people will come and help out. But what I'm trying to illustrate in this first stage of response is that a tremendous amount of the energy is not actually helpful, 1. And 2, that a percentage of the energy, 10, 20, 30%, is actually damaging. Now, I weighed myself after arguing for 3 minutes because if I cared about the patient, I would move the fire truck out of the way and I'd move the ambulance up to where I was standing. And I would not ask an injured person to walk 150 yards through a narrow wedge, etc., to accommodate protocol. I don't even know why that protocol would exist, but let's just say it does. After 3 minutes of arguing, and them saying, look, we've been doing this for a while. This is our job, blah, blah, blah. Is that really the best you can do? Can you not reference any benefit to the client? Can you not reference any benefit whatsoever to your protocol other than that your job is to enforce absurd protocols? No, that's not the case. So we have basically a badgering of the client into accommodate. And then meanwhile, all these 8 guys, they're talking with the neighbors, chatting, talking amongst each other. No one's attuning to me. Not a single person is saying, what do you need? Not a single person is saying, what do you need? Chatting this. So I'm just distracted, trying to figure out what all these people are going to be doing that aren't helping me. Now I walk through the 2 vehicles, and then I need to dangle my arm and keep it straight or it's in excruciating pain because the right radial head of my elbow broke. Now they want me to lay down, which means that every bump is going to hit me this way, adding pain, but it also means I'm going to have to bend my arm. I don't want to lay down. I want to sit vertical, and I want to dangle my arm in front. This does not meet protocol. I say, you've got a chair right there. If you would help me into that chair, I can keep my arm in the angle that is not excruciating. They said it doesn't meet protocol. You have to lay in the bed. I say, fine, I will drive in my own truck where I can actually do what's good for my body. So I decline the ambulance. You haven't helped me up the stairs. You haven't gotten out of my way. You aren't letting me sit in the angle that doesn't cause further injury. And you've listed 3 protocols with nothing to do with my body. And you're the medical team? This is a joke. This is a $1,000 operation you've made out of nothing to make things worse than they need to be. And this is the core understanding in design, is you end up spending significantly more money to make things worse than they would be before. So, I've also never liked the flashing lights and blaring and blah, blah, blah. So, my wife, under protest, I might add, under protest, meaning it's not enough to argue with me what they're not going to do, they then argue with me that I shouldn't be turning away the ambulance. I should be letting them do their job to make my body more miserable at great expense. For everyone's expense. I mean, the taxpayer and all this. I don't like any of it. I don't like the waste. I don't like the lack of sensitivity. I don't like the insanity. A fire truck? A fire truck? To help someone get up the stairs in a stretcher? Is that sanity? Oh my goodness, you're drowning. You're drowning. Let me order you some M&Ms. What does it have to do with it? Looks impressive. Who gives a shit? You know, it's wasted money. It's wasted time. So anyway, we come. My wife does a much better job. 2 pillows helping me stay at my comfortable angle. My wife does a fabulous job taking me to the ER. They do a good job, I think, in the ER. There's just one, well, the X-ray machine, the X-ray machine certainly wasn't designed with the patient in mind. It's very extensive and bulky, etc., but it lacks a great deal in flexibility, and so I'm maneuvered into painful positions, etc., so they can get the X-ray angle because their machine won't angle in the most comfortable position. Now, within that framework, these technicians do a great job of accommodating me, but because it is so painful, they said I should go and get pain medication. I'm offered morphine. I said, is there an oral pill? They said they'd really like me to do intravenous morphine. I said I'd like an oral pill unless there's a benefit. And they said, well, the morphine will act quicker. Long and short, after 10 minutes of arguing and being told that the morphine always works and blah, 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 they inject the morphine. It has 0 effect. Although I should say it doesn't have 0 effect. Having given me morphine and having pushed me into a horizontal position so that I can be given the morphine, they then, because they say I'll get dizzy, I don't get dizzy, and there's no effect on the pain. There is, however, a lot of effect on my elbow, which is in more pain because of the new position. Now, they then say that I can't sit back up because I would be too dizzy. I don't feel dizzy. It's having no pain reduction whatsoever. But now they're saying that because the pain medication that they insisted on doesn't work, but because they can't process the fact that if it doesn't alleviate any pain because it doesn't have an effect on me, it doesn't affect my dizziness either. They want me to be in more pain than the pain before. Now, why was... And the doctor was quite irritated and huffy that I wouldn't accept his recommendation of the morphine. I said, does it work on everyone? Are there any side effects? They said, no side effects, and it works on everyone. It doesn't work on me. And now you tell me the side effect is I can't sit up correctly. So I've been lied to. Now the x-rays continue with no pain abatement. In more pain because of the horizontal position. And now they're trying to maneuver me within this horizontal position. Eventually, I just ignore their protocol. I get up, I stand in a comfortable position for me, and we finish the x-rays that way. And I coach them, because I can see the angles of the machine, how they're most likely to get the angles they want without hurting my body. Well, this leads us to discharge, etc., where they want to put a cast on. I said, I'm paying out of pocket. So the question is, what's this going to cost? Like, how much are you going to take a 20-minute cast assembly, and are you going to charge me $1,000? What is it? You're just straightening my arm in the exact position it's in. My wife could do this in 20 minutes. What's this going to cost? They said, we don't know. You don't know how much it's going to cost to put on a cast. How many casts have you put on in the last 10 years? You didn't bother to check how much any of them cost? So we know nothing about costs. Now, this is a really important point, because whether it's Kaiser or Marin General, I'm in Marin County, California, whether it's Kaiser or Marin General, I'm in Marin General at this point, they will not tell you how much anything costs. Well, this is a stressor when you understand that nothing makes any sense in hospitals. The only other time I spent time in a hospital at Kaiser, I was dehydrated. So the first thing they said was I couldn't drink any water until I did a battery of tests. So I got more dehydrated. Then they found from the test that I was dehydrated. So they gave me 8 quarts of saline. Great. I felt great. They wanted me to stay in overnight. So I did. $16,000 to put 8 quarts of salt water into my body. Well, you realize that doesn't have a whole lot of sense when you can buy these bags of salt water for $20 a piece online by the quart. So $20 times 8, okay, we've got up to 200. We've got, some expensive equipment. But you thought that was a good idea to spend $16,000 when you kept me up all night with your beepings. You would wake me up every several number of hours. And I'd say, why are you waking me up? I'm stressed. I need to sleep. I just barely got to sleep after your loud beepings. They say it's protocol. I say, you mean to say that my vital signs are not important? That there's no sign of danger? But that because I accepted your $16,000 bed, I've got to be woken up on protocol, so that you can do something that you agree is absolutely irrelevant for my health. When I'm in high levels of stress and trauma about the ordeal and can't sleep, which is affecting my health. And they said, yes, you can't stop us from doing this because you're in the hospital. But yes, it has pretty much no benefit to you. I'm just doing my job. Well, could you do your job and reduce the beep by 80%? I don't need to be woken up by that loud beeping. No, we can't do that. Can I waive your ministration? No, you cannot waive our ministration. So you're going to charge me. I've never paid $600 a night for a hotel. But if I did, I would expect a lot for it. You're going to charge me 10 times more than the most expensive hotels for the worst night of my life, in which medical professionals hurry around making my life worse in order to do their jobs per the description, which apparently doesn't include the well-being of the patient, but perhaps satisfies the attorneys that you could not be sued if you wake this person up every 4 hours and check their vitals. Despite the fact that no one ever does that at home. Maybe hotels would do that as well. If you sued hotels for millions of dollars for dying in their hotel beds, maybe they would insist on rushing in every 4 hours to check your vitals. But it's not in the interest of the client. So having gone through all that, we then, of course, I sign up with Kaiser to put a cap on, expenses, only to find that the surgeon that I need has no time for 2 weeks to do the surgery because he's on vacation for 1 week and then he's got to backload the next. None of the people at Kaiser give out phone numbers because then you might actually call them and then you might actually learn what's going on and have easy communication. Instead, they have long, elaborate phone messages that all say, "We appreciate your time. That's why we're going to waste another hour of it. We appreciate the fact that you need to rest and take control of your life so that this trauma doesn't become PTSD. That's why we're not going to tell you when we're going to call, and we're not going to let you call back. Instead, we'll call you randomly so that you have to stay glued to the phone. You can't take a shower or shit because what if this was the one moment when your health provider, who's supposedly all about your health, the one moment when they're going to pick up and just randomly dial your number and then say, we missed you, and that's it for today. Because we're so committed to your health that we're committed to being incommunicative. In fact, because you've got a life-threatening illness, we're going to be less communicative than any business in the nation. You want to know what's going on with your dry cleaning? You just give them a call because that's not important. You want to know what's going on with your car? You give them a call because that's a little bit important. You want to know what's going on with your health? You can't give them a call and they won't answer, but they will have long messages explaining that this is all for your benefit and how much they value your time. Meaning, fuck you and your time, so let's make a recording explaining how much we value your time. It's completely insane. So you escalate trauma, which escalates costs and long-term effects, etc., in the name of saving money on doctors, etc., that could actually engage with their patients. So it's a very sick system, and preemption is not encouraged because this is so horrendous to deal with. Why would you deal with preemption when it's torture? This is torture. So if you're in chronic pain, you put up with this torture. But if I just want to talk for an hour with my doctor and learn about different things, first of all, she wants you to drive there for an hour, and then she'll give you a 15-minute meeting. $400 a month. This is what healthcare is. There's so many areas of improvement in this entire system. It's so easy to improve it in so many areas. And yet, like so many things, the system is crude, and it is the people, the client and the doctor, that both suffer the dissociation, the pain, the frustration in a broken system.